Hey, Doc.
Hey, man.
Thanks for hopping back on.
Of course.
It's never too good to be early to the party.
First of all, congratulations to both of you on remarkably ambitious early careers. I mean, yes, I have a lot of things. A lot of people see me on social media. I wasn't doing that 3 years into my career. So
Yeah.
kudos to you guys. It's good stuff.
Thank, thank
Thank
you.
you.
I appreciate you saying that. I feel like it's part of the social media world. I don't know. Ever since I was in dental school, it seemed like the buzz was you need to create a personal brand. You need to get out there. You need to start posting. And when I got out there, I'm still not a very great clinician in my own opinion,
Mhm.
but I've learned a lot of hard things about contracts and bad associate positions. And so I figured, hey, that's a void I could help hopefully fill. So we'll start throwing out some content along those lines. And it's somehow snowballed over the last 3 years into having the opportunity to work with Alex for the last year. And then now, I've been like not sleeping. I've been so excited about today's interview. In all honesty,
Really?
it's funny. I work with a gentleman. His name's Dr. Fred Wood. He's an 80-year-old dentist himself, and I don't know. There's something about dentistry that used to be done that I just try and glean off of people.
Mhm.
So I've just been so excited for today's interview.
Let me tell you something funny. I don't always say this about when you just said, I don't think I'm a very good clinician. You never heard me speak, right?
I've never been to any of your speeches, but I've probably watched like 1,000 hours of your content.
So you would know that at the beginning of a lot of I don't always do this, but a lot of times I do it. And I say something like this. I said, there's a slide up behind me, and the slide says, you don't have to be a superstar to be a superstar. You just have to be willing to outwork everybody else. Okay.
Hmm.
And I said, so you're going to like this. So I say, and I have absolute proof. I said, let me take it back to 1979. And behind me on the slide is uh, Jimmy Carter. And I say, Jimmy Carter was the president. Sony came out with this new gadget that stunned the world. Remember, it's 1979, called a Walkman. And there's a picture of a
Hmm.
Walkman. A Toyota Corolla cost $4,100. Kramer versus Kramer was the best picture of the year. Heath
Hmm.
Ledger, Kate Hudson, and Nora Jones were born. And your speaker, there's a picture of me in dental school, was a senior at the University of Pennsylvania Dental School. And I'm pointing to myself, he just spent the past 4 years getting up early, going to bed late, working through the weekends, because he was determined to be the number one ranked student in his class. And when those final rankings came out in May of 1980, yours truly was ranked number one. And I pause and I say, number 165. That's right. According to the grades, there are only 7 other students considered worst possible dentist than myself. And you see what I did with my career.
Yep.
So don't hold yourself to anything. And by the way, it's the truth. I didn't think I was anything special either. It's the truth. But
I
let's
I
go.
appreciate the story.
Did
Yeah.
you before dental school? Because I can kind of relate to that.
Uh-huh.
I took the ACT twice, because my first
Right.
score wasn't good enough. I've never been talented with art or drawing.
Yep.
I'm unemployed for about the next 3 days, so I've been learning to draw. And wow, I cannot wait to show people how awful this is. When I got to dental school, I was spending so much time in sim lab. I remember I threw a burr at my friend. I hope the Florida Dental Board doesn't come at me because I was so frustrated that my class twos didn't look. And it's funny that Tony said, you're not a good clinician. We're all scanning work. So I have evidence of my work. I'm like, I'm not that great of a clinician. Um, so I guess 2 questions, Dr. Rasner. When you were younger, do you feel like you were similar where you had to try harder than everyone else? Because I feel like most people are at this age, pretty cognizant of what they were like.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you 2 things. One, yeah, I mean, I literally remember whenever you get graded on your handwriting in like 3rd or 4th grade, everybody got A's and I got a C. Like, and I deserved a C. I was awful. I'm still awful, you know?
Hmm.
And a second thing is I didn't know what I wanted to be when I was at Rutgers College. I really didn't. My dad was a dentist, by the way, but I didn't
Okay.
grow up with my dad. I grew up with my mom. Same town. But, I just wasn't like, oh my God, this is amazing. I can't wait to be. So I actually went in as a political science major. And then about my second, I thought I'd be a lawyer or something. I don't know. And
Mhm.
then by my second year, I thought, just in case, I'll better start taking the sciences. And like, I remember I dropped chemistry like 3 times thinking, you got to be kidding me. I, I am so not built for this. And then I just, something in me, I kept going. So I ended up being a psych major, and I took all the electives to get into medical, by the way, too, or dental school. So
Mhm.
that was my journey. So when I ended up at Penn Dental in 1976, those guys were crazy talented and smart. And
Mhm.
they were all bio-sci majors. Um, and they were also like one guy played quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, like he was fourth string. Are you kidding
Wow.
me? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Got some clout.
Some other guy like, right. I can't think of his McCaffrey. I can't think of his name, but it was crazy. Like, I'm so because I was a psych major with minimum sciences, you remember what the first year was like? I was getting
Yep.
pulver
Pounded.
pulverized by the sciences we were taking. And by the
Mhm.
time the first year passed, I was at the unbelievably bottom of the class. I got a 90. I can't believe I remember these things. I got a 94 on my first exam ever in University of Pennsylvania Dental School on anatomy, and I was below the class average.
Wow.
Right?
It's probably an
Wow.
easy test.
Right. So I'm telling you, and so I would, and you know what? It's just true. Like, you're treated, the professors and the instructors know by the second year where your rank is. They just do, and they treat you differently. And,
Mhm.
and the top 30 guys are golfing with the instructors, and nobody even knows my last name or first name. So when I graduated Penn and left Penn, my self-esteem was in the toilet, and I didn't get any offers for GPRs or anything. So I
Mhm.
went back to practice in my hometown of Bridgeton, New Jersey,
Okay.
which was an armpit. Okay. And I hadn't been there in 8 years, and it got a lot worse since I left, you know. And I'm serious. God bless my dad, but I'm practicing in this place where you gotta walk up. There was no elevator, like 100 steps to get to the second floor.
Out of breath.
My father's equipment was like a pump chair. I'm not kidding you, like out of Norman Rockwell. And trust me,
Okay.
we had motorized chairs by 1980. Okay. And, it was as old fashioned and uninspiring as it could be. And that was my start. And I'm not kidding. And I
And look at
felt,
where you're at.
yeah,
Yeah.
incredible. I agree with you.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's and one reason I love these sorts of stories are, and I would even argue that the people that were number one in the class experienced some failures along the way that really beat up their psychology.
mhm,
I think dentistry is a very tasking profession, not just physically, but
yeah,
absolutely mentally.
yes.
And you have to have that mental fortitude to work through those mistakes, work through that self doubt, work through that. So, looking back on maybe the first 5 or 10 years of your career, you're working at your dad's office.
Yeah.
If you could tell yourself looking back now, other than, hey, buddy, you're going to be okay, like, what do you think is the main piece of advice you'd say to
Oh,
yourself?
that's a cakewalk. It's CE. It's live,
Do
live
it.
CE. When you hear me talk to other uh, audiences in dentistry, you'll always hear me tell a young dentist, because everything I say except CE is some mistake I made. So you always hear me
Hmm.
talk about living below your means, which I didn't do.
Hmm.
It's very easy not to live below your means because, you never can afford jack squat through your journey through
Hmm.
college and dental school. No bank's going to loan you the money to buy a nice car. So when you graduate and have that degree, they are willing to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't even know if I had a car. I don't remember in dental school. I don't think I did. So naturally, that was a big thing to me. So I
Mm-hmm.
didn't do that. But the one place I would not live below my means is I would borrow to immediately invest in myself. There's not a doubt that that's the number one thing. And I did it. In
Mm-hmm.
1980, it wasn't the type of CE that you guys have today. In fact, what I did, thank God I had the wherewithal to think of it. I somehow found dentists that were very successful. First, I started in New Jersey, which is where I was. And
Mm-hmm.
I would ask the dental supply guy, hey, who's real successful? And I would call him
Love
up,
this.
I would. I'd call him up and say, hey, there's a guy up in Tom's River, which is 2 hours from me. His name is Jack Smith. You should go see him. And that is what I did. I'd go, and, a third of the time they wouldn't return my calls. Persistence is everything.
Mm-hmm.
I would go up and I would be very humble and hang around the I remember doing it like I'm looking at you guys. A guy would write a book, because that's what you did in 1980,
Mm-hmm.
on something I thought was amazing. And in the book, there'd be a contact or his address, and I would write him and I'd find out his phone number somehow. And I remember doing that in Chicago. And remember, I'm in Jersey, and I did these things a number of times and would visit these guys. This is before C really became a thing, because it's so different. I mean, I want to tell your audience something. Think about this for a minute. We all have primary care physicians, right? Well, if you're a
Mm-hmm.
primary care physician, and no doubt that some of them fall out of love with being a primary care physician and they want to be something else. In fact, I have a personal friend who was actually, he was a cardiologist, and he didn't want to do it anymore. He wanted to become an oncologist.
Okay.
If you want to do that, if you and I are GPs in medicine, and we say, hell with this, I want to be a plastic surgeon or cardiologist. You know how long you go back to school for? 7 years.
A whole kit and caboodle.
7 years. You already spent an eternity in college,
Yep.
in grad school. Well, in dental school, in dentistry, you don't have to do that.
No.
You take a CE course.
You can take curriculums for a year on your own. You can design your own specialty. It's what I did.
That is such a good point.
It's amazing. Nobody talks about it.
Yeah, that is such a good point.
You guys know, I'm sure you know the same people I know. Have you interviewed David Yang yet?
No, I live an hour away from him, and I went skiing up in Flagstaff, and I actually stopped by his office, and they were closed. I was so bummed. I was just going to drop in on him, and but yeah, I that's what I was going to do, is try and plant the seed in person. Okay.
In fact, he'll tell you, or his wife will tell you, that the group he has on Facebook is because I told him to do it.
It's a wild group.
I was out to dinner with him in Arizona, and because I met him at an AGD program that I was teaching in Arizona. He was this not little, but this unknown guy in my class.
Yep.
And over those years, all of a sudden he started popping up, and now he's like, everybody knows him. Yep. He deserved it. He deserves it. But why'd I tell you that story? Where was I going with that? Let me think. David Yang.
We're talking longevity. Making your own specialty.
You ever see his root canals? They're crazy good.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
And we all know people. You guys are going to know colleagues that you went to dental school with that did not go to endo school, did not go to perio school, or whatever it was. Hell, I have an institute that teaches dentists live surgery. So they're working
oral surgery.
They're not watching me; they're doing it. So I had to go to the New Jersey Board of Dentistry. You know how intimidating that was to get permission to do that, right?
And they're not licensed there either, right?
No,
I saw that on your website. Yeah, you just show up.
As long as you have a license somewhere and do it.
Then you're okay. Yep.
And so that was how I somehow ended up in that arena. But the point I'm making is, we chose a profession. Yes, it is hard. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. 45 years into this, I can tell you it is extremely challenging. It's easy to get down on yourself and beat yourself up. I don't care how many success cases you have, whether it's implant dentistry, whether it's restorative dentistry. I had a guy, this is going to blow your mind. So I have really, I mean, I have had a very storied, thank God, great career. But I'm 45 years into practice. At my 44th year, which was last year, this really heavy hitter from Florida flies up to New Jersey for my care. This
Okay.
guy's a billionaire. Okay.
Ooh, yeah.
I don't get a lot of billionaires.
That's pretty
and
cool.
I really don't. And I want to talk about that sometime in this podcast. I mean, I have a very successful practice based on blue collar people. I don't do blue collar work. They don't pay blue collar fees. That's who I'm working on at the
That's who
best.
you're on.
I
Yep.
don't, I'm not, what's that guy's name? Jonathan Appa?
Yeah, Dr. Appa in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have people flying in like,
Celebrities.
right. No,
Yeah.
not at all.
Yeah.
And I've had a very, very fulfilling career on average Joe. It's fine with me. In fact, it's probably easier to work on than those guys,
Agreed.
to be
Agreed.
honest. Anyway, this guy comes up, heavy hitter, prep him full arch on the top. He flies back to Florida that day, calls me that night. Part of his temps came out. Okay.
Get back on your jet.
Flies back the next day.
Man.
I spend maybe 2 hours shallowing out his occlusion, right? By the way, he's not my first full mouth case. And I don't know, I still don't know exactly what went wrong. I think I ran out of time because I gave most of it to an assistant that's been with me for 35 years in terms of the provisionals.
Yeah.
And I went in and checked it in the last 15 minutes. He was going to bolt out here for a flight. It didn't look, I mean, aesthetically, it looked great. Anyway, he flies back. I spend 2 hours. He flies back to Florida. That's the second time. It comes out again.
Oh,
Long story
baby.
short, he fires me. And I know the guy. He was nice about it. He was nice about it, you know, and the moral of the story is even if all those years of success I had, some of these cases I did got published, you know, it crippled me in one phone call. Just, that's what we chose to do, you know, and maybe it's true in medicine as well. But I can tell you that it's a hard profession and it doesn't matter. Like anything in life, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. So early on, I would tell the people that listen and follow your podcast, I would immediately make an investment in CE. I don't care if you had to put it on a credit card. I don't think you'll regret that. I'm positive you won't. That'd be, so you asked me 5 years in, what would I do? I did it. And it's easier to do today.
Yeah.
Because of all the connections.
I want to touch on two related topics, and I think they're pretty important. We've talked about specifically the words keep going. You're like, keep going and longevity in this very taxing career. What kept you going?
Well, I think what kept me going, honestly, there's a very big difference. And we're all individuals. I mean, I've had an associate work for me for 37 years. That would never work for me. I think owning your own business is an incredible, inspiring leap in how you get up every day and what you want to do with your life that day and that week and that year. And for me, owning a business, maybe it's because I came from nothing. Maybe because I came from nothing and all of a sudden I have full control and own this business that I can do anything I want with it. And think about that for a minute. I could have made it. Like I went to Penn with people that had successful financial careers by owning a chain of Medicaid offices. They were as smart as I was, or smarter. Clinically, maybe is better than me. That's what they chose to do. That would never be my path. I think it's a really cool thing. I still do, by the way, to be I took on all-ons. I know I'm deviating, but just how my style is, sorry.
No, this is
I
good.
took on all-ons 2.5 years ago. Now, I know how to do all-on surgery for 15, 20 years. I've been doing implants for 30 years, but I didn't
Mhm.
believe in the concept. I just didn't. I thought
Yep.
they would all fail.
Yeah.
And I even wrote an article on it. I wrote an alternative to all-on X. 4 or 5, and
Okay.
when I did that article, I researched to support my thinking. I just
Mhm.
never researched it before. I said, "I'll put all that in there." I couldn't find anything. I couldn't
Ah,
find anything to say they
you
were all
proved
failing,
yourself wrong.
right? So when I
Yeah.
learned that, when I found that, I said, "Well, maybe I ought to try these." Right? And
Mhm.
I started. So the reason I'm telling you this, so it's only been a 2.5 year journey for me, but I'm this year in 2026, I've already booked trips to Brazil
Mhm.
and Portugal at 71 years old because I want to take my all on to the highest level as
Oh,
possible.
okay.
So I'm
Nice.
going now. I've been doing them. I have had zero problems with them. I don't have to go to Portugal or Brazil to take it any higher, but I'm still so passionate about what I do. So when you say to me, what moved me, for me, it was just, I think it's really cool to be amazing at something. And now that something could be root canals, right?
Mhm.
There's people, Buchanan is his name, I think, out in
I've watched him
California.
lecture. Steve
Right.
Buchanan. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
out of LA.
His amazing talent has been that. Carl Mish's
Yeah.
was implants.
Mhm.
Frank Spear and John Coy's was full mouth rehabs and reconstruction. By the way,
Mhm.
I flew from Philadelphia. You want to talk about passion? I flew from Philadelphia to Frank Spear and John Coy's office 19 times in the
Wow.
90s.
Wow.
This is before I even went into surgery. So
Just to get that info.
I think education and being in that, and by the way, that's to me is very different than learning online because when you go live with CE, it's not just Frank Spear or Coy's or whoever's in front of you talking to you. You're meeting like-minded individuals in your room and you become friends with people that have this. Not everybody in dentistry cares about. I get it, what we're talking about.
Mhm.
You can have a career in public healthcare, and there's nothing
Yep.
obviously wrong with that,
Nope.
or you can have a career researching or politically as a dean of whatever you're into. But
Mhm.
to me, what inspired me, what pushed me and moved me, per- to be honest with you, uh, wait, who's Tony and who's Alex? You're
I'm Tony.
okay, Alex.
Yes.
Mhm.
What pushed me might have been the fact that I was graduated in the back of my class and I knew it was better than that, right?
Yeah. Pushed you to
And
keep
so I
going.
knew I was better than that. I wanted to be better than that. And when you start taking all those courses, invariably you're at lunch or at dinner or whatever, you're talking to some guy from Illinois or from California, and he says, "Hey, I use this lab." I mean, that's how I met all my courses. I'll never forget. My first course that really inspired me was Bill Strupp in
Oh,
Clearwater
yeah.
Court.
Right down the
Mhm.
road from me.
He
Yeah.
knows me very, very well.
I follow them. Yeah,
He
their
was my
crowns are
first
unreal.
guy that ever made me think. I'm talking late 80s, by the way. He's the first famous guy or whatever you want to say. And he was really big in the late 80s, early 90s. He was huge.
Mhm.
That made me feel that I wasn't just average and I could be something. I don't mean a speaker. I just mean that he had a newsletter and
Mhm.
my friends started telling me, "Hey, how do you know Strupp?" I said, I don't really know him. I just took some courses. He talks about you all the time in his newsletter. And that, like, oh my God, are you kidding me?
Oh,
Right?
he's talking about me?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I remember when I took Strupp and then I was at Dawson,
Mhm.
right? And I was at Dawson. And if you lived back then, Dawson all had his courses at this pink hotel in the west coast of Florida. I don't know the name of it. I can't think of it anymore. but that's what he was famous
Wow.
for. And then when I was there, I remember somebody telling me, hey, there's two guys on the West Coast you got to see. Spear and Coys or something. So
Mhm.
that's how that started. And I'm out
And you
there
knew about
for
that.
7 years. And
Yeah.
I hear
And
somebody there say, hey, there's a guy out in Pittsburgh teaching dentists about implants. His name is Mish, Carl Mish.
Carmish,
And
yeah.
so I'm saying you learn that stuff. You learn what labs they're using. Just it's endless and priceless. And you can't, and I understand the attraction to taking a course right in your kitchen in front of you, but you don't get those things by doing that. And I think there's a tremendous advantage. Even by the way, investing, you guys aren't at that stage yet, but a few years from now, how you manage the earnings that you have is critically important because
Mhm.
I did not manage mine well. Okay. It took me a lot longer.
You,
To
I
get
mean, you
that
want to
done?
talk about that? What your mistakes and
Well,
what you're doing now by manage?
yeah. Okay. Here's what not to do. Don't follow me on that part. I I had this house in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and I had a house in Longport, New Jersey, and I had every car you can want.
Mhm.
And, I always reasoned, so don't do this. This isn't rocket science. Like I would like say I had the house and I had those two houses and I was considering a car and the new car would cost me, I don't know, back then, another 1,200 to 1,400 hours a month, right? Because
Mhm.
trust me, I was looking at nice cars.
Yeah.
And I would justify by saying, well, hell, I'm
It's
bringing
2 more
in
crowns.
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's how
I had that
all justified
conversation
everything.
today.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the problem with that approach to life is that you make banks very wealthy
Yeah.
and you pay your whole life, you pay hundreds of thousands, if not more, in interest. So it's really not sexy and not exciting to say, put away money each year. But every successful guy I'll never forget meeting guys in my late 40s that were dentists and
Mhm.
50s that already had significant money put away. And I
Mhm.
did not.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I was a big producer and I was able to outproduce my mistakes, So
Yeah.
eventually I did pay off debt, but
Mhm.
the last thing you want to do, oh my God, I'm talking right now to all the people watching this podcast.
Yeah.
Do not put yourself in a position that you have to practice to pay your bills.
Yeah.
It's ugly. And
Mhm.
I'm not saying, I don't even mean, or I'm not implying that you'll make a crown out of something that should be a 3-surface restoration. I don't even mean that.
Mhm.
I mean just the pressure of
Yeah.
having to produce or not having a bad week or month, which you cannot always control because
Nope.
even successful offices have bad weeks and months. And
Yep.
it's just not healthy.
Well, and I would
I
even
just
add,
start.
like, from our perspective, with a lot of our followers are associates,
Mhm.
and,
Yeah.
it puts you in this pigeonholed position where you feel like maybe you can't even leave a position, even if you are not having a good time, you're not growing clinically, you're not
Mhm.
having any growth, but you're like, "Oh my gosh, I have all these debts, the bank's gonna come knocking regardless, so
Mhm.
I gotta be working," and, I've personally lived that experience, when my wife was finishing residency, and I remember just being, like, in this panic, not in a loving spot, but just like, "I can't quit because we got a car, and I got student loan debt and blah, blah, blah," but,
So, two things
yeah.
to say about that. Number one, here's some good news for your listeners. You can overcome really bad mistakes. And I have really bad mistake history,
Mhm.
financial. I just wasn't that guy that was, you know, my first wife, God bless her. She's alive. I don't mean to put it like God bless her. She's alive. She's alive and well. That's all good. But she
Yeah.
wasn't really good with money and she had no input to me and let me make all the decisions. And, I would get a financial advisor early on. I would have a circle of advisors as early in your
Mhm.
life as you can afford, meaning within your first 3 to 5 years, and then eliminate them if you can. And those advisors would be a financial advisor, which early you don't need them that much, of course. I would have an accountant that's dedicated to dentist.
Mhm.
And number three, maybe not the whole career, but as certainly every other couple years, I would have a life coach. Not your wife,
Oh man, I love
not your
that.
parents, a life coach.
We were just talking
Yeah.
about that, the value of a coach. I mean, every athlete has a great coach, but I mean,
I don't mean
yeah,
a dental coach either. I mean a life coach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
do you have one? What is your experience with life coaches?
I had several over the years, and, just somebody to talk to, like we're talking right now, like, this is what's going on in my career. I have one office. I'm thinking of having a second. And you got to like vet these people because life coaches are just like dentists. There's bad ones, there's
Mm-hmm.
good ones, and there's great ones.
Yep.
So, like anything in life, you've always vet before. It's better to vet and wait a couple weeks and make quick decisions and waste a year or 6 months. But
Mm-hmm.
don't let that immobilize you. Don't let that indecision. You have to be diligent enough, vigilant enough is the word, to keep pushing till you accomplish that goal. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to tell you to find the best one. Today you have better choices than ever with ChatGPT. I mean it, and all these places to help you start and find somebody. But I would use it. You want a person. You don't want a psychiatrist. I'm not talking about that. You want somebody that this is where I'm at with my career, and you're going to develop a relationship with this person. It's going to be this professional that's older than you to some degree and has life
Mm-hmm.
experiences and can give you input and guide you into the, well, I think you should wait, Alex, on doing this. I would wait a couple months and do it this way. I mean, I've had several in my career. I do not have one right now. I don't. I'm
Well, out of all the people we've interviewed, I would say at least half have brought up that they have had multiple life coaches in their careers.
Yeah.
And some of it has been to talk dental stuff, but a lot of it is outside, truly life coaching. Where do I want to go in life? What are really my goals? Where do I want to be in the future? But my dad was always really big about that. I remember being a high schooler and we'd go watch, I don't know what everyone thinks about Tony Robbins, but he took me to a
Yeah.
Tony Robbins talk. And I just remember being a
It's
high
cool.
schooler thinking
Got a
like,
cool
this is
dad.
pretty cool to be thinking about like where I want to be in 5 years, 10, 20 years.
Yes.
And if you don't plan it, you're not going to get there. If you just go
Even
willy
if you
nilly,
don't
just like,
use
go
everything
ahead.
Tony Robbins or somebody else said, the fact that your father exposed you to that kind of somebody's out there talking this way, you can go
Hmm.
through a life and not know that.
Yep.
That's really critical. I love that your dad did that. And it's
Yeah.
really important and it's very easy to brush it off.
Hmm.
I would absolutely implore your out of the three, I would get that guy first. And you're
Hmm.
going to get to a point, and this will happen to you. If you have them for long enough, that might be 9 months, might be a year, and you feel it's like kind of stalling. I told
Move
him I
on.
want a break, and I'm
Hmm.
very cognizant of it that I need to get back in it when I need to get back in it. I do want to give remark to what you said because very few of your listeners will probably do this, but if you're an associate right now and you don't really know what to do next, you're worried about your bills, you don't want to change the job, you're kind of stagnated where you're at. You're like, the best way to advance your career, and you guys are going to be surprised, I'm going to say this, is to find out what the state requirements are for you to get an oral sedation permit. I'm going to tell you why in a
Okay.
minute. That's right. Out of all the things I could tell you to learn clinically, I'm not telling you to go to the Spear Institute. I'm not first. I'm not
Hmm.
telling you to take my extraction course or I'm not get an oral sedation permit. So here's the requirements, and they vary in most states, but normally you have to take about 40 CEs.
Okay.
Um, you can do most of those 40 online, which wasn't the case when I got mine.
Hmm.
You'll have to go live in some states, obviously, to do basic life support. BLS is
Hmm.
obviously easy. A lot of them are up in the requirements for a lot of
ACLS.
reasons. And like yesterday, I'm not kidding, I had to take an ACLS,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's crazy, by the way, hard.
Yeah,
But
the ACLS is that's next. My wife's a physician, so she does that every. I think they
yeah,
got to do it every 3
yeah. So
years,
I
and
was in
so
there
yeah.
yesterday. Trust me, there was no other dentist. It was all emergency room doctors talking
Yeah.
about atropine and, adenosine, and I'm probably not even saying it right because, right? All
Yeah,
these,
adenosine. Yeah.
all these EKG
Mm-hmm.
rhythms. I don't know.
Yep.
Hey, let me tell you something. If they told me I had to do a mile in 9 minutes, I would start training to do a mile in 9 minutes. If that's what
Mm-hmm.
to keep my oral sedation, it'll be the most
That important.
powerful single tool you will skill. It's not even a skill, by the way, that you will ever acquire. And here's why. Most dentists do not realize because they don't market it because they can't, because they don't have a sedation license. So there's no reason to market it.
Mm-hmm.
The giant population of people in your community, and I don't care where you're at, that would come out of that community and go to you if they knew that you provided oral sedation. Okay? And that's number one. There's nothing more. Not you
Mm-hmm.
could be the best veneer guy, clinician on the West or East Coast. It doesn't matter. The thing that'll blow your phone up on new patients is when you start marketing. And if you're an associate, it'll make you the instant star of the
Stick out.
practice you're in. Okay. And then when you want to break off, you're the one with the sedation license, not him,
Mm-hmm.
probably. Okay.
Yep.
Or her.
Mm-hmm.
It is amazing. And not even if you do surgery, if you just offer that, that's number one. Number two, it makes your life so much easier to practice. What we do is challenging. I've already said it
Yep.
several times in this interview. And when you walk in, picture, this is what I walk into 60 to 70% of the time in my practice. I walk
Mm-hmm.
into a room, the patients, on nitrous oxide, they're snoring lightly or they're comfortable. Maybe they
Mm-hmm.
got headphones on. The room is dark.
Yep.
There's cool music playing. They've
Mm-hmm.
already been anesthetized, and
They're chilling.
I got to do what I got to do.
Mm-hmm.
That has extended my career many years. Okay.
I
Because
agree. The anxious patient and the nervous patient and I
brutal.
consider myself somebody good with dealing with anxious people. I'd
Yeah.
say that's my superpower as a dentist.
Yep.
But man, you do 2 or 3 of those a day, every day, and next thing you know, I don't
Ah,
care who you are, you're going to feel tired and fatigued and potentially burning out. So I love this.
once you do oral sedation, you'll never go back the other way. And when
Yeah.
you have to, because you've got some like World War II Army guy that never took an aspirin, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's in your chair and you've done oral sedation now for a couple years and he's going like this. And,
Moving
it's
on.
the
Yeah.
number one thing. The lack of patient comfort and control compromises whatever skill level you have. You're not as
Oh,
good at prepping
I
teeth.
got
Yeah.
So I'm early in my implant journey. I've probably placed 100 implants,
Oh, good
and
for
you
you.
shared
That's
your
good.
story of your first failure,
Right.
or the recent we always use the word failure. I don't think you
Okay.
failed. You had something that didn't go your way. Well, I had my first one. I had an army patient. He's in his 60s, has PTSD, and I'm placing an implant site 4. And during the final osteotomy, he grabbed my hand,
Oh,
and so we opened up the most coronal extent of the osteotomy by a
right.
couple millimeters. And so I'm talking to him about it, and I elected to put some bone graft around it, and I placed the implant. Well, it failed, of course. 2 weeks later, it's come back and it's losing bone like crazy. So I told him, I'm going to back it out. Let's graft the site and try again in 4 months. Um, but I remember thinking, and I told him, I wish I could sedate you when we do this again, because I literally told him that. I was like, I don't really want to have my hand grabbed when I have a drill inside your jaw again. So, and I don't think he did anything consciously. I literally think it was like a PTSD reaction.
Sure.
But yeah, it's really freaked me out since then, and I've honestly been a little gun shy on another implant
Yeah.
because it had me kind of stewing inside.
Well, let me just say this to you. Here the protocol I use, and your guys can write to you. You give them my email if Dr.
Okay.
Rasner at rasnerinstitute.com.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to sell you anything. I'm way past the point in my life where I need to do anything like that. But I would give you my oral sedation protocol, and
Okay.
basically it's triazolam, Benadryl, and Atarax. So it's
Okay.
0.25 triazolam. It's 50 milligrams of Atarax, which is another antihistamine, by the way. I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay.
So it also has an
Okay.
anti-anxiety component to it.
Okay.
And I give like 12 milligrams, a tablet. I break it in half of 25. I break it in half of Benadryl. Those
Okay.
three together, 90 minutes before.
Mm-hmm.
I've never done anything in my life before or since that is more predictable in
Okay.
terms of what the patient will be like.
Uh-huh.
You put them on nitrous because some of the people, and the nitrous varies. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you don't even use nitrous, you just use O2 because, they're out.
They're sleeping already. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you use, I never use really more than 60% ever
Mm-hmm.
nitrous. 40% actually. That's what I'm using.
Yeah.
Um, with that protocol I just gave you, but it's incredibly predictable. And it just grows your practice. And here's why. You guys and your listeners could do the most beautiful aesthetic case you've ever done in your life. But a lot of patients won't tell other people that for good reason.
Nope.
They want it to look natural. They don't want to say, hey, my smile, I just spent 12 grand on it or whatever,
Yep.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody wants to share with everybody, hey, I got a dentist you got to go to. This is what they do. Blah, blah, blah.
XYZ pain-free.
Yeah, pain-free. I don't charge, by the way, for it. I do not charge a dime.
Okay.
Advertise that. My advertising,
So
good.
I want to hear you talk about that as an owner, because in my practice, I've always thought about, so the original owner, he did do nitrous for free. We didn't do oral sedation. He just did nitrous, but it was always free. And the practice was acquired by a DSO, and they came in and they want $180 to do nitrous. And I'm like, okay, now you just ruled out the crown or the bridge. So we didn't just not get the little bit of money. And the 180 for nitrous, in my opinion, is way over the top. Should be like $40 at most. Anyways,
Typical
So I feel
DSO
about-
story, by the
So
way.
I feel about all of dentistry.
penny
1600
smart,
for a
dollar
crown.
dumb is what it feels like. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the point. You just made my point for me, Tony. I mean, that's the point. What it attracts and brings in. Think about who's coming in to see you. If you market sedation, whether it's no cost or just don't even say anything, just put sedation. Number one, you're going to separate yourself probably from 9 out of 10 offices because for some reason I've never understood, most dentists will not get the permit. I don't know whether they think something bad's going to happen. Do you know, in 28 years of doing it, I have never had one patient. It's a big statement to make. I've never had one patient. I never had to call 911. Never even had a patient I even thought about calling 911. Nothing, zero.
And no nurse or physician there at the clinic? It's just you?
No, it's
Yeah.
oral sedation.
Okay. I wanted everyone to hear that. I knew that, but I wanted everyone else to know that you're not like having some nurse anesthetist there.
No, I have nurse
or-
anesthetist when I do IV sedation, but
Of
not for
course.
oral.
Yeah.
And that oral sedation's like 9 out of the 10 cases that I do, and I've never had an event. Hell, man, I had to call 911 once because I packed cord that had epi in it, too much epi in it, and it caused tachycardia. I've never had to call for sedation, but I had to call for retraction cord.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You kidding me?
Funny.
It's
That's a good
incredible. And
story too.
I wouldn't say that to you if that wasn't accurate and exacting. I don't want anybody getting in trouble.
In dental school, I'll say my dental school, University of Colorado, I remember when we went, I don't remember what specific class it was, but I vividly remember one of the first, it was didactic year. So it was first year. And the person teaching the class basically told our class, you don't want to do any sedations because you will kill somebody at some point. And I remember stopping and being like, okay, I'm never going to sedate anybody. I don't need to kill somebody for a tooth. And I would say my 84 classmates, probably a lot of us, heard and thought the same thing. And maybe just in our mind now, it's just been ruled out. So it's awesome to hear that it's not.
In 28 years of doing this, having done, I don't like making up numbers, but I'm sure I've crossed 10,000 patients, and I've never had one incident. Is that luck? or is it probably a
No.
state protocol?
Statistical
Yeah,
significance.
it's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
A little bit of both helps.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, all right, I'll
Um,
take that. So that's
I was
very
looking
good
at,
advice. Yeah. Good.
I'm in Florida, so it's the Wild West. I was looking at oral sedation. So for our laws, it says for minimal oral sedation, no license or permit is required.
This is a
So,
minimum.
okay. So I was going to say, because the only thing I could find, and I just, maybe for other people in other states where it doesn't say specifically
It's
oral
moderate.
sedation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
as long
moderate.
as
That's
it's
what I'm
moderate
saying.
sedation.
Moderate sedation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in some states, by the way, I think New York, by the way, they're going to require you to have an IV license to do oral.
Yeah.
Now, and
In
it's
case they
inspired.
go out.
You know, it's inspired. I don't know if any of your followers are oral surgeons, but I don't blame them. It's inspired by oral surgeons. They don't
Mhm.
want us to be in the position to sedate, so they make the require. So if they're on a board, which there's 2 on the Jersey board, they make it more difficult to get it. That's why they add
Okay.
ACLS to the requirements, to our requirements in New Jersey 2 years ago, right?
Okay.
And that's where it comes from. Okay,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
or to be fair, maybe in some state, some everything that happens in your state is a product of if something happened that ended up at the board. Okay,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
You just gotta
Lobbying
look.
has spread its dirty little fingers into dentistry as well, I guess, like within dentistry. I wanted to talk about the evolution about your time on the lecture circuit. Just because I think all doctors have egos. I think part of it's a necessity to be in this profession. Like we say we want to help people, and we do. But would you be a dentist if they paid you half as much, right? If it didn't come with
right.
the title? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to lie. I always tell people I'm not a saint. I would love to be on the lecture circuit, not for having my name on a billboard, but it means I've accomplished something with my life that other people value in terms of education, whatever
It's
it
true,
is.
what you just said. Yeah.
And I just wanted to talk about, because your whole story has been, I've been bottom of my class. I've
Yeah.
been,
Mhm.
hardest worker in the room, but I'm
Yeah.
not a protege. I'm not
Yeah.
genetically talented, whatever you
Not.
want to say. But
Mhm.
you are obviously very highly regarded in the little small niche dental celebrity community.
Mhm.
So can you just talk about maybe first experiences, about your first invitation, kind
Oh,
of?
hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now. How it happened, and this is a gentleman that you guys probably don't know about, is I was taking one of those, do you edit this? Because I hope it's gonna be long-winded if you don't, but you know your audience. So I was
Yeah, he
taking
chops them up.
one of those many courses I told you I took of Frank Spear. And I at that time in my career, which probably was a good 20 years into it, 15 years maybe, I guess, I don't remember. Not 1990. No, yeah, it was less than 20. You know how I got that? Because of the OJ chase happened when I was doing that, and that was the 90s.
Okay.
I
Okay.
remember,
That's your marker.
yeah, because I remember I watched it when I was at one of the courses. So
Oh.
I was coming back from the course, and I read everything I was at the peak of CE. And there was a guy named Earl Estep from Texas
Okay.
that wrote a book, or he wrote an article, magazine that went out about 4 times a year, and it was
Mhm.
called The Blueprint for Success. So
Okay.
at this stage of my career, you guys are going to love this story. So at this stage of my career, I was really taking tons of C. I mean, 300 hours a year, and I
Oh,
loved it.
baby.
Oh, I
Mhm.
loved it. It wasn't just Frank Spear. I was
Mhm.
all over the place. And I read this thing about Earl Estep, fell in love with his philosophy. Old guy from Texas. I got to my office on Monday. I called him. I think his number was in a magazine. I said, wow, I really love how you think and whatever. Could I come see you? And he said, well, he talked big Texan guy. Well, if you want to come see me,
You're gonna have to come here.
you're going to have to get here by Wednesday. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
This Wednesday, 'cause I'm going to Scotland to golf for 3 months. So So I cancel patients. I get on a plane Tuesday night, and I fly from Philadelphia to Dallas, and then Dallas, a flight to somewhere deep in the South. And then I have to
Okay.
drive an hour and a half. I'll never forget it. It's like
Yep.
1:30 in the morning, and I'm driving a car in some back road in Texas. And I think for sure I'm getting killed tonight.
And abducted.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like, so the next morning, Earl, who I don't know anything about except he said, yeah, come visit me. Knocks on my door. He picks me up at this ratty hotel he told me to go to. And he's like 6'8".
Oh, baby.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
looks like the full Texan welcome to Texas
Chainsaw.
guy. Oh, yes. He's scary.
Yes.
Well, it turns out I spent the whole day with him, takes me back to his ranch. His wife made breakfast. And I'm thinking the whole time, why am I here? Like, why? I mean,
Yeah.
other than he was pretty famous, I guess. And he asked me, it was like an interview for a whole day, but very casual. And he takes me to his son's lab at one point that was 60 miles away. And I'm thinking, that's what it is. He thinks I'm a
Okay.
heavy hitter and I'm a new client for his son. It's not the case. He drops me off the next day to the airport. I leave, never hear from him. I go back, I remember, to my office. I said, what did you do? I said, I don't know. The guy just talked to me and,
Drove around.
and went to his son's lab, I guess. About 2 months later, he calls and he says, I hope you don't mind. I took the liberty. This is how my speaking career started. I hope you don't mind. I took the liberty of putting a few things about you in my next magazine. I said, really? Because he didn't take notes and stuff. I
Yeah.
said, what'd you put in there? Because don't you worry about it. You'll think your mother wrote it. All right. So long story short is that's magazine. Oh, he said he called. And let me tell you something. When I was in there, remember, I was at the pinnacle of my CE. My brain was like a face bow. Like I knew everything about
Dental.
everything. At least I felt I did. I was a long way, by the way, from that guy that graduated back in the bottom of his class at that moment. And I had felt it. The power of CE was very impactful to me at that point. And the article comes out, and remember, this magazine, he called me the Tiger Woods of dentistry.
Wow.
Wow.
Of the next millennium. I wish I had that article right me around. I don't even know what I did.
Frame that thing.
Right. I said a lot of flattering things about me. And that goes out to 12,000 dentists.
Damn.
A guy named Woody Oakes. Did you ever hear him?
I've heard that name. Yeah.
So Woody Oakes used to have this annual giant conference in Florida, and I get invited to speak there, and I'm the second speaker.
Oh,
okay?
Man.
I spoke at little teeny meetings in New Jersey a couple times. Now I'm in front of 2,500 people. Right?
Damn.
And I'll never forget
that's
this.
intense.
I'll never forget this. The first speaker in these events is often not a dentist. He's somebody else famous for something. And this guy, I can't think of his name, but he wrote a book. It's not what happens to you, it's what you do about it. Okay? If you Google it, you'll see his name. And, he was famous. And I walked in at the very end in the back of the room watching his close because I didn't want to go any earlier. In fact, I didn't even want to see the end of his, but he was there. And because I'm telling you, I was terrified.
Oh, I would be.
And I didn't want to be influenced by anybody.
Okay.
I didn't ask anybody, what should I do? I put my lecture together. I had like 5 months to do it. I spoke for an hour and a half. And they gave this guy a standing ovation that was so loud you would think that he was the Beatles.
Won the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Yes, won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I remember I ran back up to my room to throw up. I remember thinking, if it was possible and I could get out of this, I would remortgage my house and pay somebody $100,000 to get out of this with dignity. Oh, you're not going to believe what happened to Rasner. He tripped at anything. I didn't do that.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. I showed up and I did it. And the ovation I got was bigger than his because I was so raw and I was so real. And You only can be yourself, but I had
Yeah.
practiced and practiced and practiced. And to this day, I have people write to me or once in a while and say they'll never, ever forget that. And I want to tell you, 11 minutes into that, because I practiced this, I showed
Mhm.
a video that I made, right? Now I probably got paid $1,500. I made a video that cost me 28,000. Okay. That was,
Dang.
that was a real high end full camera video. Um, that was self-deprecating,
Mhm.
so it was humorous. It made
Mhm.
them realize I didn't think I was anything. It was done so well. Watch this.
Talk about raw content.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know we were going to talk about this, but this is called a Telly Award.
Okay.
It's for outstanding videos. So I won one in, I think it was 1998
Wow.
for the video I won. For the video yes, 1998, it's on here. For the video
How
I just told you
cool.
about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was
Eh,
such a thing. So
no.
I showed
When you
that,
weren't going for it.
and my career took off from there. That's what happened.
Yeah.
I
I
um I feel like, sorry, Tony, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I keep cutting you off.
I feel like when we see these speakers, or I'm going to speak from personal experience, and it's definitely jealousy. Oh, they had it set up for them. They were probably these talented people in the beginning, or, they knew someone to do it. But you had just said that you would spend 300 hours a year, right, on CE.
Yep.
So can you just explain what your lifestyle was like? I don't think people understand how much hard work it takes to amass that knowledge. I feel like, Tony, we need to have like a drinking game for our podcast, because every single podcast I talk about my $500 Black Friday gift to myself, which was dental textbooks, $500 of dental textbooks. Like, I've got
Mhm.
a bookshelf over there. I read one to go to bed. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by this stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember someone in um, dental school was like, "Oh my God, you're so brilliant." And I said, "I know it looks like that." Well, I didn't say this, but in my head, I said, "I know it looks like that on the outside, but you should see how many hours it takes in private to seem brilliant." So I bet a lot of people look at you and go, "Oh my God, Dr. Rasner is probably a genius and all that." And whether you are or are not,
I'm
you
not.
still have to put in the hours. So, I mean, can you just kind of talk about your mentality, and obviously the
Yeah.
finances weren't there all the time?
Yeah. Well, I remember in like September, and I don't know for sure this is exact. September and maybe January of every year. So through the year back then, you didn't have the internet, so you would get courses introduced to you in the mail, like hard mail,
Mhm.
and I would
Mhm.
put them all in a folder. Okay,
Okay.
I would not throw any of them out.
Mhm.
And in September, I would look through and see which courses I wanted to take, like you did in college. Maybe it was
Mhm.
August. I remember doing it,
Mhm.
and I would do it in December, not January. And I would pick my fall and winter courses and my spring and summer, and I would take one every quarter. But I took two
Mhm.
different types of courses, and I was always cognizant of doing that. And I would say I did this 3 years or 4 years into practice after I practiced. Like in the beginning, I did take courses, and I told you I'd visit dentists that were successful. But CE was really starting to happen around 1985, and
Mhm.
I started in 1980. And curriculum started to be a thing. And I
Mhm.
was sure that I would take one curriculum a year.
Okay.
Now, so that curriculum meaning like a 2 or 3 day course. In
Okay.
addition to that, I would take a 1 day course at least, and it'd be on pharmacology. It would be on whatever,
Mhm.
maybe a 2 day course with Strupp. That's not a continuum, but that would be one of my courses I took every quarter. And then I would, like I said, I would take a continuum, meaning I took part 1 of 5 parts,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Coys.
Yeah, Coy's, Spear, before the
Thank you.
Spear Institute. This was in Frank's office and in
Okay.
John's office in Tacoma, Washington, and I forget where Frank's was at the time. And then I remember taking a continuum. My first continuum I ever took was a Perio at University of Pennsylvania, where I went to school.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what's really stunning that you need to remember is I never saw any of my classmates. Maybe it was coincidence at those courses. It doesn't matter where you graduated. It only matters how much you care now, right? And I assure you, my classmates, and I don't know what my classmates think of me today, but I went to my 30-year reunion. I didn't go to the first 29, if there was 29. And I remember at that point, I had had some measure of recognition in dentistry. I had been in a lot of magazines and blah, blah, blah. And I certainly had spoken a lot of times. And I remember the general attitude of a lot of my classmates is, where the hell did that come from? Where have you been?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even see you in dental school. Where were you?
Yeah.
Right?
I didn't know about you.
So it's not where, forget dental school. I don't care if you were literally last. Forget even right this minute. Like, I don't care if you're an associateship and you're in your 3rd year and you're not feeling it, man. Like you think you should be further than you are. You can fix it in this profession pretty easily if you're willing to put the work in. And I know that's not sexy, but it's true. Look, getting the oral sedation license I just told you about isn't sexy. That material is not like how to make a beautiful veneer or restore a case. It's hardcore science,
Facts.
you know?
Yeah.
And so, but it's a means to an end because it impacts your practice so significantly, you cannot bypass that, in my opinion. Okay?
And I would even, I feel like we've said hard work a couple of times, and I'm like taking notes. That's why I keep looking down. And I had wrote that down a couple of times, and then just a minute ago, I like kind of scratched a couple of those out. And while it is hard work, I think maybe the more appropriate term was above and beyond. Like the stopping your practice, going to see another doctor, not even knowing that you were going to learn anything from them. I think like 9 out of 10 people would probably on the onset have thought that's crazy to go do. So they wouldn't do it.
Produced X amount that day.
Yeah. What am I doing? I could do this. And in our world, it might be, I'm just going to do an online CE now because it's easier. It's cheaper. I can go out and see my kids right when I'm done. When really you might need to go above and beyond, travel somewhere, get the hands-on course, because that's where the real growth is going to happen, is in the above and beyond exchanges. And
Well,
you did that a number of times.
2 things you resonate to me when you say that. You know, the first one is everything's hard work that's good. You know, it just is. I mean, I come from a background that, whatever I have. Nobody left me anything. I didn't expect anybody to leave me anything. It was never in my brain pathways about my family or my parents. So part of it is just that everything, whether I liken success, because it's easy for me to being successful as an athlete, and all great athletes have amazing stories. I mean, Google the work ethic of Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan. I mean, and I always wanted to be that, I wanted to be the Michael Jordan. Whether I became anywhere close to that or not doesn't matter, you know. And the second aspect of that's really important, and I didn't do this, is you have to be disciplined enough. When you asked me what my mindset was, are you guys married?
I'm married.
To each other? No.
You also have to be disciplined to plan your goals because I had professional goals. I remember writing it down. Remember you mentioned Tony Robbins. I didn't get this from him because a million people you can get it from, but goal setting I have all kinds of books behind me. Probably haven't read half of them, but goal setting, So
Mhm.
you have personal goals, professional goals,
Yep.
immediate goals, 3 months goals, 6 month, 1 year, whatever. And I really don't go out past a year or two, to be honest. I
Okay.
don't. And the personal goals are important. If you're in a relationship, you gotta nurture and feed the relationship. If you love it,
Mhm.
if you want to be in it. I got divorced, and it probably was very much my fault. I was in love with learning. It did.
Mhm.
It filled me up, made me feel so good about me
Mhm.
to be, because you are palpably different and better when you take continuums, right? And
Mhm.
and it leads to, it's not an accident that your case acceptance goes up, because
Mhm.
case acceptance is all about confidence.
Yep.
And if you go into a room and you're not confident and you give a patient two or three or four options because you don't really know the option they should choose, you're probably
Yeah.
not going to get high case acceptance. And case
No.
acceptance is the number one thing that will fulfill yourself and your career. And that should make sense to you, because think about it. Like, I had an 84-year-old lady. This is funny. Came in last Monday.
Mhm.
So I'm in my private office, and my hygienist comes in, and she's very young and not seasoned at all at this point. She's very good. She's a very good clinician, but she doesn't have the other skills. And she
Mhm.
has this bad look on her face. I said, "What's up? What's wrong?" She goes, "Oh my God, you're going to go crazy with this next patient, new patient." She's in there. She's already complained about the $245 X-rays, and she's mad at everything. I said, "Oh,
Mhm.
really? Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
let's go."
Yeah.
An hour later, that lady, that 84-year-old, paid me $28,000 for an all-on. Okay.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
that was not my intention. I had no idea. And let me say
Mhm.
this, because we could go on forever. One really great way to have people accept your work is to, number one, be thorough. And at this stage of your game, being 1 or 2 or 3 years out, you'll be more thorough. That's why you have to invest in CE. It's not going to come from
Mhm.
anywhere else. You
Yep.
have to invest in it and let it become a part of your core, so you really are confident. Okay. Number two, never walk into a room with any expectations. I don't care if they accept my treatments or not. Now, that's
Yeah.
easy for me to say because I'm
Mhm.
long in my career and I don't have to
Mhm.
worry about paying for my car anymore or whatever,
Mhm.
but that said, if you adopt that attitude, you will close a lot more cases. And why would you want to close a case because you talked the patient into it anyway? Who wants that?
No.
Nobody
It's
does.
the
Right.
worst.
you
I
know,
Yeah. Every single veteran doc I've ever had an exchange or along that topic with shares that exact insight. As soon as I quit feeling like I needed to sell them on the case is when I just started having a very full schedule of all the things I recommended because I was telling them what they needed. They could tell I wasn't in it for the money. And yeah, so I've heard that. I can't even tell you how many times from more seasoned docs than myself. So I completely concur there.
the educated associate drinking game, take a shot every time Alex mentions he started the Panky curriculum.
Yeah.
So I, started one of those continuums, and the same thing. One of those stories. One of our professor's faculty was talking about something he heard. The quote being, "When I needed them to say yes, they said no. When I
Yep.
didn't need them to say yes, they said yes. They probably saw the dollar signs in my eyes."
yeah,
Right. And
Mhm.
that's something that I felt. I've been a dentist for about 9 months now.
yeah.
And part of it is wanting to do the dentistry, honestly, for the sake of doing it because it's fun, but also when you're working heavy insurance and you take everything under the sun, the difference in fees and time, you know, money per unit time is crazy between different procedures. And so when you see something that's like, oh my God, your eyes like light up. And, when you first start making money, I didn't really realize this till I started. We make a crazy amount of money, even working as an associate.
Yeah,
I was
you
trying
do.
to buy an office. So I've been talking to banks and I was like, yep, I pay this much for rent. I don't have a car payment. I don't have this payment, just student debt. And they're like, oh my God, like your finances are amazing for someone in your position because, you know, I don't really need
Mhm.
things. Every time I would finish out a month that I thought was slow and the paycheck would hit my account, I would always go like, "Oh my God, that's more than I expected." Right?
Yeah.
But it's addicting. And I have found that, to your point, when I enter the room, I always try and take a breath because, you know, if you look at the x-rays beforehand, you can see there's all this stuff and like your mind's already going like, oh, I'm going to recommend this and this. And then you just take a breath
Good.
and get
Good. I
to know
like it.
your patient. And like, you know, I try not to look at the x-rays first because we're treating people and not teeth. Right.
You're way ahead of the game, my man. You are.
And with that approach, and then realizing, and I say this, I'm just about to start a new associateship, um, and I want to make it a point never say the word need. You don't need anything. You could walk out the door today and not do a thing, even if you've got cavities everywhere. You know, these are recommendations because I want the best for you. And every time I've slowed down and taken that breath, and I go, hey, we're going to meet the person, and we're going to try and understand them and give them our best effort, attention, etc., without without pressure. I mean, urgency, yes, because, you know, there's an infection here, but without that pressure of, oh wow, I can't wait to see $50,000 on the treatment plan.
Yes.
People say yes more often, and it's funny how every ethical, successful dentist reaches that same point. You know,
Yeah. Right on that spot. Just, when you said, like, I take a deep breath, I love that. Add to that thought when you do it next and your followers, read the temperature of the room. Like, I have an associate for a year now who's a lovely female, foreigner accent, pretty. She is so set up for success when she walks in the room, but she doesn't know how to read the temperature of the room. So, and it's important. Like, maybe, like, you walk in, you can't talk about, there's a lot that goes into this beyond the scope of time we have, but it's natural to say, so tell me what's going on in your life. Like, I often say, what made you, I usually have small talk before that. Like, how do you know about me? Because I want to know that,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, if they say I got you off my insurance company list, it's absolutely a buzzkill, but
you
they
roll your
don't,
eyes, right?
you know,
Yeah.
they don't say that because I'm out of network with everybody, but I'll talk about that in a second. But, like, maybe they look depressed to you. Maybe they don't look
Mhm.
good. I'm comfortable enough years into this to say, so how are you? You okay? Like, what's going
Mhm.
on in your world? I know you're in my dental chair today. Give me a picture of what's going on, right?
Mhm.
If you're a real
Empathize.
human, and maybe they'll tell you that they're in this condition because they've been taking care of their ailing husband for 2 years that just died, or he's
Mhm.
home right now with a care provider because he's had dementia, or whatever they're going to say.
Mhm.
That impacts me. It
Mhm.
does. And if you can think long term, if you can get people to really like you and have a true, not just the words, but a true relationship based practice, meaning everything you guys have been saying, like, you have a relationship with these people because you do, because you really don't care more about whatever it's going to cost and add to your production that week versus what is good for this patient's life right now. When you think that way, the way you alluded to, Alex, it's not theory. It leads to case acceptance down the road. I can't tell you how many people come to me and I say, well, how'd you find me? Oh, Mrs. Green told me. And I look up Mrs. Green. Mrs. Green never had any work done or accepted anything from me, but she
Mhm.
loved, I always tell my team, I said, this is your goal today. It's your goal every day because we have meetings every morning. And I say, your goal is whoever comes in your chair today, hygiene, front desk, when they walk past you, clinicians, I want them to leave, whether they accepted whatever you recommended or not, with a good taste in their mouth about us. Good
Mhm.
enough that they would feel referring us to their friends and stuff like that. And that doesn't always mean they're going to accept our recommendations. It's just being good doctors, good clinicians, and good people. And that sounds old school, but it's true.
Yeah.
And a word
People trust people.
yeah, right. A second, just because we are getting going kind of long.
Yeah.
I do want to say one of your early goals should be to get out of network, to be fee for service. And that is not a goal you can achieve in the first 5 years, in my opinion. I'm sure you have outliers that know how to do that. You got to like get your skills together. You got all the things we're talking about together so that you're palpably different than the in-network people. Because once, somehow, some way in dentistry a long time ago, we accepted this third party, which is what insurance is. They're just a marketing person for you because they put you on their list and they get a cut of 30%, or not really, but they cut your rates by 30%
Yeah.
for you to be in network. And it's really hard to stomach the longer you're in dentistry. So it should be one of your goals down the road, because really good clinicians that put in the effort and time deserve to be paid. And you know what else? When you're on your own, you don't ever have to it's already hard, right? We've said this a lot. You don't have to argue that the filling that was an MOD, BL, MOUSC filling really needed a crown. You get rid of that in your life,
And just
right?
do it.
And you
Yeah.
can be very gratuitous too when you're out of network. You can, you know what? I feel bad for this 84-year-old. I'm going to chop off some money, you know, or whatever you want to do. You can
No.
do it. You can have more
And it's your
freedom.
practice. Yeah. And I
Correct.
think that's where we're all kind of wanting to head. I agree with everything we said. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know you said this ran long. I've got to go snag my daughter from her school here in any minute. So
Yeah.
a good time for me. But is there any last words of wisdom, something you'd like to leave
Yeah.
our audience with that you just want to say?
I didn't invent this, but I know it to be true. You are going to run into things that you can't think of right now, besides a tough day at the office in your career. You're going to lose somebody in your life that matters to you. It could be a health issue of your own. I don't know what it's going to be. If you really love dentistry, not everybody does, but if you love what you do, first of all, work hard enough to give yourself a chance to love it. If you don't do anything to change, if you just remain an associate with no new skills and no input, then you're setting yourself up not to like it. But if you put the work in and you love it, never give up. It would take you guys 3 more podcasts with me for me to review all the things that have happened to me that weren't good to have made me go a different direction or give up. Don't do that if you love it, because good work and good intention ends up in a good place, and you get the reward of karma in life that you deserve by putting in the right energy. So never give up is my words.
I love that. That's always been something deep in my mind, and it's great to hear that from somebody. So yes, for all of our listeners, I've felt that. I'm still feeling that, but I think that message is critical in life, and it's especially true in our careers. Stick
Provide
with it. Keep grinding, everybody.
Feel
Yeah.
free to provide
But
my email. I
okay.
usually send out little nuggets of blogs that I've written that
Okay.
I'm not selling them. I give them to you.
Mm-hmm.
They're on oral
Perfect.
sedation. They're on the
Okay.
first 2 minutes of what happens when you walk in a room with a new patient.
Mm-hmm.
They're on what you should literally say to that phone call with out-of-network patients when you do become out-of-network. And there's one called 8 Things I Would Do If I Started Over on Monday. I wrote that
Okay.
about 5 years ago. Love to share it with professors.
Yeah, we'll get the email. We'll put it up on the screen for when the
Cool.
pod goes live. And
Right.
yeah, again, really appreciate your time. So thank you.
I admire but what you're doing. You're way ahead of me in your career at this stage.
Well,
So
I
I
keep
hope
appreciate
you
the kind words.
understand how hard it is for us to see that. You know, we come across some people like you who say these things, and they're millions. Well, they're tens of thousands of people just like us, me and Tony, And it really does go a long way because, like you said, we have all had moments. I promise I'm going to close this. I'm going to land the plane. But, we've all had moments of that 15 buckly tip. We decided to put a crown on and we do it. And we just like, the patient didn't have a good time. It's not a great clinical outcome. And you get really down on yourself. You try your best. And because we have these egos and we have put almost our whole identities into our profession, college, I'm going to go to dental school, I'm going to take the DAT. And to hear those words from someone like you is reaffirming. And I just wanted to thank you because you could have been doing anything else on this planet. And honestly, for anyone out there, any more seasoned docs, if you feel like you take a liking to a younger doc or let them know because you really don't know, where that kind of what struggles or people are going through. So Dr. Rasner, thank you for your kind words, your time, your commitment. And it is Stephen L. Rasner on Instagram, and we'll post everything. But you are a fantastic human being, and we can't thank you enough.
I appreciate it. You represent your profession well, and keep doing it. I'm proud of you guys.
We will.
Way to go.
Try.
Thanks, Doc.
Thanks.
Everybody have a good Friday. Thank you.